Remember, he spoke to him in the burning bush, and he told him what he was going to do, and Moses disagreed with God. What would have happened if Moses said, God, I can't do it. I'm not somebody who's good at speaking. What if God said, yeah, you're right, you're hopeless, and walked out of there and said, yeah, you're right, I don't know what I was thinking, I'll ask somebody else. Do you think Moses would have gone to Egypt? Never. The only reason Moses went to Egypt was because he believed that he'd been commissioned of God to do it. And I'm telling you, whatever the great evil is in your life that you're to conquer, whatever is your bondage in Egypt, whatever is your Pharaoh that you have to confront, whatever it is, don't think for a minute that you're going to be successful in that campaign if you don't believe you can do it. If you don't believe that you can defeat evil, you never will. I promise you that. If you want to really defeat evil, you have to believe that you're a new creation. You have to believe that God has changed you. Peter here is reminding us that we are aliens. By calling us aliens and strangers, or sojourners and pilgrims, as Rick had in his. What he's trying to instill in us is to remind us as Christians is that, listen, this is not home anymore. We have a different culture, we have a different language, we have different diet, we have different customs. You are an alien now. Because you have been transformed, because you are now in the kingdom of God, because you're a child of God, this is not your home anymore. Therefore, you had better live by a different culture, you should live by a different custom, you should have a different language about you, you should even have a different diet about you, okay? And, you know, for most people, when they're an alien in a strange land, their goal is assimilation, right? Somebody moves here from another country, they try to learn our language, they try to learn our ways, they try to be like us. Peter's saying the exact opposite. For us as aliens, our goal is not to be assimilated here, but to be unique, to keep our uniqueness, to keep strange. Okay? That's one of the things I love about the Amish people. I'm not somebody who doesn't really like, I'm not somebody who hates denominations. I think that there's a sense in which, if you look at the church as one big universal church in the world, that every denomination kind of constitutes a different person in a local church. That each denomination almost has its own gift to give the whole church as a whole. You know, the Salvation Army is definitely a very giving denomination and a hospitality denomination. The Presbyterians are definitely a good teaching denomination. The Christian Missionary Alliance are good evangelistic, missionary. And I think if the Amish were to play a role, I think they have a prophetic ministry in the world today by giving a testimony by the way they live to everybody who cares to look, that we're indeed aliens. They're trying to be a living testimony and illustration of what it means to be an alien and a stranger in this place. Incidentally, I don't know what the average Christian role is in the world. I think it's just to, you know, we're just like, we have the gift of coolness. Okay, this is what we are. But anyway. Well, the last point I want you to get from this passage is that you can't see the stars without first eclipsing the sun. Let's look at the whole verse together. Peter says, "Beloved, I urge you as aliens and strangers to abstain from fleshly lusts, which wage war against the soul." The first readers of this letter, or the first readers of this book, they would have had a lot of concern for their own personal safety. They would have had a lot to fear for their bodies. They had a lot to fear from without. There was a lot of persecution and threats of violence and death even for Christians at this time. And as much as Peter understands that, how violent and how dangerous it was to be a Christian, I love what he's telling his people here. He's saying, listen, as great as the danger is without, the greatest danger for you is from within. Don't worry about the person who can destroy your body. You need to be very sure today, very concerned for that thing which can take away your soul. Don't fear who can destroy your body, fear who can destroy your soul. And what's waging war against your souls today, which is much more important than what's waging war against your body, is this indulgence in fleshly lusts. Peter here is acknowledging the flesh. Okay, he's saying, I understand this is a major problem, it's a major concern. He's also acknowledging its lusts. He's saying that I acknowledge that there's this problem between the flesh and the soul, the flesh and the spirit. But what he tells them to do here is he's urging them to do what? To abstain. And that word is really important right here, because abstaining implies that you have a choice. To abstain from something means that you have a choice to whether or not to indulge in it. But he's urging us to abstain from it, to choose against it, to choose instead for the soul. And that's the point of this passage. He wants us to choose for ourselves the soul, which comes down to the very thing that I started this sermon with today. This problem of evil, which is hating evil and loving good. When there's a choice with the fleshly lust, he's saying, I know that it's appealing, but I want you to choose one over the other. I want you to show what you actually love. If you go outside today, today's a beautiful day, and when you go outside today and you look up in the sky, it's going to be a bright royal blue azure sky out there that's sun-splashed. And because the sun's so bright today, and because the sun is high in the sky, all the stars are obscured. You know, the stars never set, though. It's not that the stars have set and the sun has risen, but rather that the stars are always out there. It's just that right now they're obscured from view because the sun is so bright. But because the stars never set, if you want to enjoy the stars out there, you need only to eclipse the sun. If you could eclipse the sun, the stars would become visible. Well, in the same way, what Peter is trying to explain to you is that your fleshly lusts are like the stars. Your fleshly lusts, they never set. They're always there. But right now, because you're giving in to the Lord, because you're living by the Spirit, those fleshly lusts are obscured from sight. And you're enjoying the sunshine of the soul. You're enjoying this life of the soul and the Spirit. But what he's saying is that we all have a choice to make. If you want to enjoy the stars, you can't enjoy the stars without eclipsing the sun. You can't have both. And so you need to make a choice for yourself and for your family and for your life today. Which do you want? Do you want the starry sky or do you want the blue sky? And I think for all of us, the problem that we have is to make that decision. Some Christians that I know make a decision to basically live like we do, which is to enjoy both in their season. I'll enjoy the sunshine during the day and I'll enjoy the stars at night, knowing full well that there will be seasons in my life as a Christian where I'm living as I ought and I'm enjoying the Spirit, and then there'll be seasons in my life when it's very dark and I will enjoy indulging in the flesh. But understand this. Those who decide to enjoy both in their season are like those virgins who didn't have oil for their lamp. And the groom came and they weren't ready. Understand that if you choose to live life like that, that is not being a Christian. Okay? That's not Christianity. That's something entirely else. Christianity is abstaining from those fleshly lusts and only living for the soul, only living for the Spirit. So that's my charge to you today.